Okay, it's great to have a budget because then you know where you're going, how you're going to get there, and how you did against that budget. But if you have to wait until the end of the year to compare your actuals to your budget, you really don't have any opportunity to fix things in the meantime. What you might do instead is institute a standard costing system that gives you real-time data about whether you're over or below your budget. So we're going to have actual costs come out of our inventory and our labor. We're going to ignore overhead for now. But only the standard costs are going to go through our traditional T account. So at the beginning of the year, we're going to sit down and figure out how much should it cost us to make each unit. And what's going to happen is those are the standard costs per unit that are going to flow through up here. And of course, our actual quantities and our actual prices for our raw materials are going to be different than our standard, and we'll capture those in these T accounts here. We'll have a variance accounts that checks to see if we're paying too much for our materials. We'll have a quantity variance that checks to see if we're using too much. Are we paying our workers too much? Are they taking too long to get their work done? So that's the concept. Let's look at a couple simple examples. Let's say that I'm going to make covers for iPads, and I say it's going to cost me $10 per square foot of leather. I'm going to use 2 square feet of leather for each pad. So my total cost for each iPad cover should be $20. So let's look at a couple obvious variances. I spend $10, that's the right price, but I use 3 square feet, that's 30. That's a total variance of 10. I was supposed to spend 20, I spent 30. Is it a price variance or a quantity variance? Well, obviously it's a quantity variance. I bought it at the right price, but I just used too much. Similarly, if I spend $11 and use 2 square feet, that's a total of 22. So that's a total variance of $2. Is that a quantity variance? No, I was supposed to use 2. I used 2. It's a price variance. But what if it's not so obvious? For example, suppose we spend $9. That's a favorable price variance. But we use 3 square feet, that's an unfavorable quantity variance. Well, we're going to break that down. We know that it's $7 variance total. We're going to break it down between the price and the quantity variance using the magic square in the middle here. So out here we're going to take our actual quantity times our actual price. So that's our actual quantity times our actual price is going to give me the $27. Out here is standard quantity times standard price. We know that's 20. So here's our total variance. 27 minus 20 should give us a $7 unfavorable variance. So when we use the magic box method, we subtract from left to right. Since actuals are on the left-hand side, if they're larger than our standard, in other words, if we get positive numbers, that's bad news. So now let's figure out what the magic box is. We'll take the top from here and the second from over here. So we'll have actual quantity times standard price. That gives us the actual quantity of 3 times the standard price of 10 or 30. And again, we subtract from left to right. 27 minus 30 gives us a minus 3. Since it's a negative number, that means the actual price was lower. And so we get a favorable price variance. And we do the same thing over here. 30 minus 20 gives me a positive $10. That's unfavorable. And we can check ourselves. We got $10 unfavorable and a $3 favorable. So that gives us a net of $7 unfavorable. And we'll do the same thing with labor. Before the year starts, we'll establish a standard. We'll say we're supposed to pay our guys 19 bucks an hour. It's supposed to take them an hour to make each cover. So that's a total labor cost per unit of $19. And sometimes it's going to be obvious what the variance is. For example, if we pay him the right price, but he works too slow, it's going to cost us $29 per unit. That's a $10 unfavorable variance. Or if we pay him a little too much, but he does the work in the right amount of time, that's a $1 price variance. The challenge becomes what do we do when it's not so obvious, and that's when we use the magic box. So let's pretend that we pay our guy 20 bucks an hour. He works extra fast and does the work in 3/4 of an hour. So our actual money spent on labor cost is 15. Our standard was 19, so we know we've got a $4 favorable variance. That's the total labor variance. So now we just have to break it down between price and quantity by sticking the magic box in here. Actual hours times standard rate goes in the middle. Actual hours were 0.75, standard rate was 19, so the magic box gets 14 1/4. 15 minus 14 1/4 is 0.75 unfavorable. Does that make sense? Yeah, we're supposed to pay our guy 19 bucks an hour. We paid him 20, so it makes sense that we'd have an unfavorable price variance. Quantity variance, again, subtracting from left to right. 1425 minus 19 is a negative 475. So the quantity variance is favorable. Remember, positive numbers indicate that the actual were higher than the standard. So positive numbers are bad news. Negative numbers are good news. So if we use the standard costing system, anytime during the year my boss can walk in and say, hey, are we paying too much for our materials? And if my materials price variance account has a debit balance in it, I can say, yeah, we're overpaying. Are we using too many? Well, if our materials quantity variance has a credit balance, I can say, no, we're actually have a favorable quantity variance as far as materials go. So standard costing is a great way to keep track of how we're doing during the year without having to wait until the end of the year.